Charlotte Day Wilson, Gabrielle Black and Wallows. Ebro Darden takes the baton, breaking New York City coming up. Everyone has been patiently waiting to see your wonderful face and hear your amazing talent and find out what's been going on, and that wait is now over. Troye Sivan, it's great to see you. What's going on, man?
Good to see you. Not too much. I'm just like so over the moon to be finally getting this music out. It's like everything just sort of this time around just felt so like effortless and just easy. Like I think the first time around, because it was my first time doing everything for the first time.
Yeah.
It was like I was just so like stressed all the time and just not even knowing, you know, like my first couple writing sessions for the first album, I had no idea how to communicate to a producer what I wanted. Like it's one thing to have an idea, but execution I realized is super, super difficult. And I don't know why I didn't expect that. But so just, I feel like I learned so much, and I've learned so much over the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been since I last released music. And I was just so relieved to like get into the studio, and everything just like sort of started falling into place.
But you didn't rush, man. That's what's been so cool about it. And just watching the comments that you sort of put out there month by month by month, which was a nice touch, by the way, just a reduced amount of reflection, which actually makes it more special for people to know what you're doing. And it just felt to me like it'll be done when it's done. And totally. I think people get to a point in their lives normally much further down the line, not to patronize, but to tell the truth, where that's a realization. For you to get there on album 2 and go, you know what, man, I'm a roll at my own pace.
It was definitely nerve-wracking. You know, I think seeing a lot of other people who were releasing their first stuff at the same time as me last time, and kind of watching everyone's just trying a different sort of approach. I mean, like someone like Alessia Cara.
Or Halsey.
Right? Halsey, yeah. These are people who we were like doing those radio shows together last time, you know, like traveling around together and stuff. And they're such great people, and I'm like so just like in awe of them. And then they go and they like have these features that go huge, or, you know, they maybe crank a second album out super quick and it's super good and everything. So there was a couple of moments where I was like doubting myself a little bit, you know, just be like, oh, am I doing the right thing kind of thing?
Understandable.
But then I think as I started writing, and like every time I would write a song that I was like, wow, that feels like me. I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard somewhere that like an artist like reaches their sort of peak when they know how to execute what they think of in their mind. You know, when they can make that a reality, that's when they sort of like have made it kind of thing. And for the first time ever, I felt like I was sort of doing that. Like this album that I've been dreaming about, that I think I wanted to make last time but didn't really know how to, and the visuals that I wanted to make last time but didn't know how to, and the rollout plan, all of that stuff, it's like I get it now. And obviously I'm still learning so much every day, but I feel really good.
Troye Sivan is back, brand new, My. Beautiful return, man. What a great song from a forthcoming album by Troye Sivan. New music is out there. The ball is now officially rolling again. The treadmill is at a solid 8. Incline at about a 3.
Yeah.
And that's based on the quality of the music. Why My? I mean, you've worked with this producer and this writer before. Why did you decide to reteam and get it done?
I'm such a huge pop music fan. I love pop music, and so obviously I like nerd out hardcore at Max Martin and his whole crew. And I had met Max a couple of times and went in and had a meeting with that whole crew, and was just kind of like in awe that I could even get into the room. And so I said to everyone, I was like, okay, give me like a couple of months to go away and write with my comfort zone, who I wrote my first album with, and let me kind of like build out a sonic sort of palette, and let me figure out what this album is going to say and what it really sounds like. And then let me come back to you guys and let's find like the poppiest end of that world, because that's super exciting to me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's smart, because most people would think like, I've got Max Martin on the hook, I've got to go fishing right now. You don't know if there's anything in the water, but I've got to stick my hook and reel in there right now. I got to go for it. And for you to say, you know what, I'm confident enough in my own ability and that this is going to end up to be something, I'll take time.
Well, yeah, I knew that I needed to like know myself before I went in with someone that I was like as intimidated by as I was with that whole sort of crew. And so then I did that exact thing. And then we wrote a fair bit of the album just with my sort of like core crew. And then Leland and I, who I wrote a lot of my first album with, him and I went and did a trip to Sweden to finally like work with these guys. And I was expecting some sort of like magic spell that they were just like, yep, chick chuck, there's like a perfect pop song. It doesn't happen like that at all. They are writers like anyone else. I think that the difference is that they're just super hardworking, They will make the smallest changes until something is absolutely perfect. And for me, that was like so fun. And the first day in Sweden, we sat down and Leland was like, you know, we were just kind of like chucking around lyric ideas. And I'm like super in love and just really happy. And he said the words, my. And it just felt like I was looking for that kind of like exhale of just like relief and like liberation and excitement. I was looking for a phrase that kind of summed up that feeling of like complete freedom. And so he said it and I was like, oh my God, that is so good. I loved the way that it looked. I loved the way that it sounded coming out of my mouth. It just like, it felt good. And so we started writing this song and with the right team. And at every sort of step, I was like very cautiously making these minute changes and stuff until I was like, so ecstatic that day when I got home and listened to the demo around my hotel room.
We're emotional because I think when you get something, when you are able to visualize something and see it through, as you said before, when artists are at their peak, that is the ultimate, to be able to create a conduit from the true emotion you're feeling and be able to share it with the world in the most perfect way you can. It's an emotional experience.
It totally was, yeah. And
did you cry?
I've cried multiple times throughout the process. I cried the first time I heard The Master. The music video was another example of that. I had this like very specific sort of visual like landscape that I wanted to work within and was like blessed with this angel of a man, Grant Singer. We met.
He's brilliant.
And he's so good.
He's brilliant.
And him and I we met thankfully like a good few months ago. And so we just started kind of talking at a party once and then went for coffee and then went for another coffee and started just sharing like visual references and stuff. And then I played him the song and he was like super into it. And yeah, it was just like, by the time that we got to the music video shoot, it was literally like flicking dominoes and just like watching them fall. Like we had everything so lined up and everything was exactly how we both wanted it. And so I think it was like the best night of my life. I had so much fun.
Troye Sivan is with us right here on Beats One. It's so good, man. I mean, you know, we got to know you the very early stages, what we were doing, what you were doing, and there's a few artists like that who, I mean, Halsey's one, and people like that where I feel it's nice to be able to reconnect at album 2. Do we have an album title? Are we sharing that yet? Or are we holding on to that?
We don't. I mean, I think I have it, but I don't know for sure.
Not 100%.
I'm not gonna say it.
You know, I like the way you were like lowercase TS and then 2 on it. It felt kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that was just like kind of a working title to be able to communicate to people what it was. But
you talked about being incredibly happy. Is this a love song album? I mean, a love album?
I guess it is. Yeah. Well, I'd never written, I don't think, a happy song before I started writing this album. I think as well, a lot of the first album for me was like just kind of coming to terms with myself in a sort of like a little bit of a melancholy way, and you know, coming out to myself and coming out to the world and like all of that stuff. And now it's kind of like just, I feel like I just am, and I just want to kind of celebrate that.
There's still a lot of people who struggle with other people's identity, but the conversation around identity and some of the groundwork that everyone is doing and some of the ground we're covering, you must be able to feel like, wow, I mean, what a time to be alive.
No, totally, yeah. I mean, obviously these are fairly dark times in a lot of ways. Yes. And so I think that to be personally at a point where I feel like completely liberated is a small kind of like glimmer of light in all of this. And so I just want to like spread some joy right now. I think that we all really need it, you know, of course, without ever being blind to what's going on.
But you can use that, you can reach that platform in different ways. Some artists don't feel comfortable at a certain point in time to directly address it, but you can use the success or the attention or the popularity or whatever the distribution you get out of your music to then factor that back in a way you can control and let the art be the art, and let what you do be what you do.
Well, I also think that like liberation and just living your kind of truth is a really powerful like weapon in the face of adversity, you know? I think that like, of course, anger is legit, and you know, I went to the Women's March in DC and we were angry, and we still are, you know, and there's a lot that can be accomplished through that. But then at a certain point as well, there's a lot that can be accomplished just by being like, you know what, F all of you guys, I am like gonna do whatever I want to do and be as happy as I possibly can be, kind of thing.
You know what? Liberation is a good album title, man. I can't remember the last time anybody used that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just dropping that one in there, Troye, just FYI.
Thank you, yeah.
What if we run away? What if
We've got Troye right here talking about forthcoming new music and album. What can you tell us about who you collaborated with, who you worked with? What can you tell us about the credits?
So I would say kind of familiar faces from last time are definitely still there. You know, I worked with Alex Hope, I worked with Leland, I worked with Brian Minscore, Ali X, and then there's a couple of new faces, most of them from like kind of the Max Martin camp, which was again really exciting for me. Ariel, but he's on there. You know, he's been a really, really great help and mentor sort of throughout this whole process. It was nerve-wracking. I made this playlist and it was basically just like musical references that I wanted to kind of play to people before we got writing for the album. And I was like, this playlist is all over the place. But I went in and I had this meeting with Ariel and I played him the playlist and I like spoke him through it kind of thing. And I was like, this drum sound and this, you know, because the songs were really like from all over, but there was just one specific element in each song that I like really, really loved and wanted to kind of incorporate into my own stuff. And by the end of the meeting, he was like, I understand you.
I get it.
This is going to be so good. So we just kind of started tinkering around and he was just the first person that made me feel like I was like onto something a little bit.
So Troye, before we let you go, a few little things to wrap up for fans. You're now the face of fashion. You're moving into the face of fashion. Have you started that process? Is that all moving?
Yeah. So I'm the face of Valentino menswear.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, which is so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I was so stoked to get that call. I
was so stoked that my face is great. I was so stoked that my face is handsome.
It's a weird gig. It's like,
it's more than that though, bro. It's the way you carry yourself. I mean, fashion has moved on beyond how you look now. It's very much about the way you carry yourself and what you're bringing. You know, it is
right.
All jokes aside, it's a far more all-encompassing collaboration.
Right. And yeah, I had a great day and got to shoot with Inez Invanud, who I've wanted to shoot with for a really long time.
Crazy.
And all of the creatives on the team are just super inspiring, and you know, it's a fun space to kind of be dipping my toes in a little bit.
Happy about the movie?
Very happy about the movie. Yeah. I shot a movie in October, I think it was. It's called Boy Erased, and it comes out this year. It's about gay conversion therapy camps based off of a memoir. Yeah, it was gnarly, but it was a really good time and kind of my first time acting in a little while, so it was good fun.
Yeah, I wondered about that because, you know, you come from such a sort of multi-artistic background. I mean, it's not like you were only focused entirely on music, and that has become something that we all really appreciate about you, but there's other areas of your life. I wondered whether or not you were going to go back to those and how often and how deep.
Whenever somebody sort of asked me about acting when I was promoting the first album, it was kind of like if the right thing comes around, I'll consider it, but it definitely wasn't like at the forefront of my mind, just because music is so fulfilling to me in so many different areas. Yeah. And then I got the script for Boy Erased and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to be a part of this.
And who are you sharing scenes with?
Lucas Hedges is the lead in the film, and he was in Manchester by the Sea. And then Nicole Kidman's in it, Russell Crowe's in it.
You did scenes with them?
No, I mean, I had a scene with Nicole technically, but she plays Lucas's mum. Yeah. And so they sort of do all their scenes together, and then she comes to pick him up from the camp one day, and I'm like there in the background freaking out that that's Nicole Kidman.
Which is not part of the script, by the way.
No.
Cut! Listen, Troye.
You got to stop smiling.
You've got to stop asking for selfies with Nicole Kidman. We're actually burning film here. Right. This is a real shoot.
That's like exactly how it went down. I try to speak in my most Australian accent as well, so she would be like, oh, are you Australian? So that we had something to talk about. And it didn't work. I just sounded like an idiot.
It's so good to see you. I'm so excited for 2018 for you. You took your time. You got it right, man. For my humble opinion, I think you have a great year.
Thank you so much.
It's really good to see you. Don't be a stranger. You got to make us a playlist now, by the way.
I will. No, 100%. I'm going to do that.
You better. My, once again, for the fans. We in here.
Shine on.